Prabhupada's going to get funny again. The word spread that Prabhupada was speaking nightly at Sea Face Park, and new people started to come. And often, when an outsider entered the room, Prabhupada, to the devotees' disappointment, would shift from nectar devotion to Bhagavad Gita. One evening, a respectable Indian gentleman, B.K. Kamdar, walked in. Mr. Kamdar was a leader of the Vishva Hindu Parishad, and he asked Prabhupada why India, which had such a history of Mahatmas and saintly persons, was suffering so many difficulties. Swamiji asked, with so many saints in India, how did we come to this stage? First of all, Prabhupada replied, you don't know who a saint is. Who is a saint? That is your difficulty. You say, so many saints, but there is no saint at all. You say, so many saints, so many. What is a saint? What is your understanding of a saint? Mr. Kamdar could not answer. If I say, so many rich men, Prabhupada continued, I must know who is a rich man. So first of all, who is a saint? An Indian woman interjected. They claim that they are saints. They claim, Prabhupada replied. Everyone can claim, I'm a saint. But you must know who is a saint. Everyone who will claim, I am a rich man. But there must be a standard of who is a rich man. At least we understand the one who has got a nice bungalow, nice car, few servants, nice bank balance. Then you can say he is a rich man. But if I don't know who is a rich man, then what is the use of speaking so many? First, you must know who is a saint. And how do you know it? The exact means of knowing the saint and knowing a sadhu, is it not? Yes, the lady accepted. So in Bhagavad Gita, you'll find who is a sadhu. Krishna explains, Apichet Sudaracharo Bhajate Mamanandibhak Sadhu Reva Samantavya Samyak Yavasito Sesa. Even if one commits most abominable action, even if he is engaged in devotional service, he is considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Who is Mahatma? Mahatmanas tamam partha daivim prakritimashita. Not that by stamping one becomes Mahatma. First of all, know who is Mahatma, who is Sadhu. Mahatma, in another place, Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. This is Mahatma. These are descriptions of Mahatma. If I say, people may be angry. If I say the politician is not a Mahatma, then people will be angry. Didn't say who. But see the standard definition of Mahatma. Krishna says, Bahunam Jamanamati Gyanavanam Papade Vasudev Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. You can stamp anyone as Mahatma, but Samahatma Sudurlabha, such great soul, is very rare. That is Mahatma. What is his business? Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Krishna is everything, and he surrenders. He is Mahatma. One who is constantly engaged in Krishna's service. He is Sadhu. Sadhu eva samantavya. So you must know, first of all, who is Sadhu, whether he's devoted to Krishna, devoted to God. But these rascal so-called saints say that I am a God. He is rascal. He is not Sadhu. He is not saintly person. He is a demon. We are accepting demons as Mahatmas and Sadhu. Therefore, it is fallen down. That is the reason. Many are preaching, why are you finding out God? Why are you going to the temple? Gods are loitering in the street, Ridra and Ryan. And you're accepting, oh, such a nice sadhu. But you do not know. He is a demon, and you're accepting as sadhu. That's the cause of fall down. Mahatma, sadhu, has been described by the Supreme Authority, Krishna. Satatam kirtayan tomam yatantas chadridavrata. Tushanti charamanti cha. Their only business is glorifying the Supreme Lord, not cut down the Supreme Lord, kill the Supreme Lord, and I become the Supreme Lord falsely and cheat the innocent people. We are accepting the cheaters at here is God, here's Mahatma, here's Sadhu. Therefore it is fall down. Cheaters, demons, rascals, that is the cause of fall down. Mahatma is Mahatmanastamam Parta Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. He is under the control of Daivi Prakriti, not this material nature, but spiritual nature. What is that symptom? Bhajante mam, bhajantyananya manaso. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He is Mahatma. Here, we are cheating all Mahatmas. Not demons, rascals. That is our business. Krishna consciousness. As you are importing powdered milk from America, now you have imported all Mahatmas from America. The devotees and visitors laughed. It's a fact, yes. 4 years ago when I first went, I had some correspondence with my friend. So I wrote that now India has finished the milk and so many things, and they have to import from foreign countries. Now you have to import Brahmins and Mahatmas from foreign countries. I tried to make Mahatmas in this country, but still they are not prepared. They are not prepared. But these boys, Americans and Europeans, boys, they are prepared. They carry out orders. And as I say, they were habituated to so many bad habits. I said, give up. And they gave up. But our Indians are not coming. They think, we know Krishna, everything. Let us learn technology. They are not even prepared to become Mahatma. Otherwise, everyone can become Mahatma. How to become Mahatma? The knowledge is there. The system is there. But nobody is interested. Just like two young men came here. They say, what is this arati? They went away. There's no interest. They will go to cinema. They will become cinema actor. That is their progress. And so-called Mahatmas and sadhus say, yes, you can do whatever you like. Yes. They have no courage to say, you don't do this. Then he will lose all customers. Just see. He is a duratma. He wants some money. You do whatever nonsense you like. You simply give me money. That's all. They are publicly preaching. You can do anything. Oh, why not these sense enjoyment? Why not sense enjoyment? God has given you the senses. You enjoy. One famous yogi was speaking in this way. Why the senses should be controlled? God has given you senses. You must enjoy. That is his philosophy. Vivekananda's philosophy. Yat ya mata ta ta pata. He's not saying it right. Anyway, whatever mata or opinion you've got, that's all right. Mahatma Gandhi was approached. Mahatmaji, why don't you ask the Muslims to stop cow killing? No, how can I do? This is their religion. Prabhupada winced in disgust. Now see, if you're non-violent, if in the name of religion somebody says, it's my religion, how can you allow it? If you want to introduce non-violence, religion, or no religion, you must stop it. Somebody will go on killing. My religion is to cut throat. You can go on, yes, because it is your religion. What kind of Mahatma? They are advertising. The government is advertising nonviolence. 10,000 or 40,000 cows are being killed. What is this nonviolence? So we are misled. Andha yatandaya upaniyamana. We're accepting these rascals and fools and rogues and demons as sadhus, mahatmas, leaders, and we are all gone to hell. This is the fact. A man asks, so what is the solution to it? How can the average man know that and not be carried away by it? The average man is just led to it. Prabhupada replied, yes, the average man is. Now we are approaching this cult. But why they are not coming? No, excuse me, now we are preaching this cult. But why they are not coming? You have kindly come, but maybe tomorrow you may not come. They are not eager to understand. They want to be misled. They want to be cheated. That is their progress. They don't want the truth. Because if he wants the truth, then his life will be spoiled. Because of restrictions, the Indian lady offered. Yes, Prabhupada agreed. He is living in untruth. The whole world is living on meeting, drinking, illicit sex, and gambling. And we are in restricting. No, you can't have illicit sex. You can't have meat eating. You cannot indulge in intoxication. So how many people will come? Oh, Swamiji is very conservative, they say. Swamiji is very conservative, primitive. We are now advanced. We eat 3 plates of meat and 2 bottles of wine. That is advancement of civilization. What is this nonsense talking? And even some of my students left. Oh, Swami is not allowing the primary necessities of life. So we cannot make any compromise. We don't make compromise. Therefore, although we are preaching all over the world, our principles are very strict. Generally, you can come and chant Hare Krishna mantra, that's all right. But if you want to become my disciple, then you must give up all these bad habits. One who agrees, then I accept him as disciple. If I would say, you can do, yes, you can do. God has given you senses. You go now, enjoy your senses and chant Hare Krishna. Then we'll have gotten millions and trillions. I don't allow that, such kind of nonsense. All right, thank you. Prabhupada concluded Hare Krishna. And the devotees and guests responded, Hare Krishna Jai. At the end of one class, Prabhupada regretted the fallen condition of so-called teachers of Bhagavad Gita and expressed his determination to persevere. People have become so fallen, he lamented. They cannot understand the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, although they are very proud of reading Bhagavad Gita daily. What have you understood? Then they cannot say anything. We've understood that Krishna means this black spot. Just see. This rascal hasn't understood Bhagavad Gita. He's preaching Bhagavad Gita. Just see the fun. So this is going on. And our Krishna consciousness movement is a war declared against all these rascals. We have got many enemies, but we don't care for them. Still, we shall go on. Johnny Walker is still going strong. Oh boy. Taken completely by surprise by Prabhupada's unexpected, seemingly incongruous reference to an advertising slogan for Johnny Walker Scotch whiskey, born 1820, still going strong, the devotees laughed uproariously. Prabhupada often used his Western disciples as examples to encourage people to take up the practice of Bhakti Yoga. On the last evening at Sea Face Park, the Pando would begin the following day, he appealed to his audience to chant Hare Krishna. These are the statements of great personality, he said, and he quoted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the first verse of Shikshastika, Chaitadarpan Marjanam. Shri Krishna Sankirtanan is so nice, Prabhupada explained. Krishna says, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. Why don't you always think of Krishna? Where's the loss? If you're walking on the street or going on a bus or in your car, if you chant Hare Krishna mantra, then what is your heavy loss? Is there any loss? Why don't you do it? Try it. There's no loss. And if there's any gain, then why don't you try it? For nothing, without any loss. These Europeans and American boys are chanting Hare Krishna. They're more enlightened so far as material civilization is concerned. But in their country, young men, as a hobby, have taken beads and are chanting. Our George Harrison, the famous Beatle, is supplying beads and bags to his friends. Chant Hare Krishna. And he has written in his record that anyone who is a friend of Krishna, I am his friend. What he has written? Any friend of Krishna is a friend of mine, Guru Kripa replied. We Indians, Prabhupada continued, why are you over gentlemen? They're also gentlemen, the Europeans. But why you are afraid? Why are you ashamed to chant Hare Krishna mantra, even working, even going? What is the harm? This is the purpose of the Hare Krishna mantra movement, that anyone can chant. A child can chant, an old man can chant, a rich man can chant, a poor man can chant. There's no tax. Let's see the result. Kirtaniya Sadahari, Trinadapi Sunichena. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order. Always chant Hare Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, you'll find Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Anyone who is chanting, he is Mahatma. So these boys, although they're very young, because they're always chanting, they're Mahatmas. Mahatmanastamam Partha Daivim Prakritamashita Bhajantyananamanaso. Krishna says, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyati Mam Namaskuru. So this is the process of the sage. You can chant, there's no loss, but there's much gain. Why don't you try it? We were always amazed at how, at one moment, Prabhupada would be so involved in the battle at the Hare Krishna land, and the next deliver a perfect lecture with no hint of anxiety about the fight. He also continued to provide leadership for the society and respond to devotees' letters, questions, and problems. In reply to a letter from Tusta Krishna asking about pure devotees, he wrote, we advise everyone to address one another as Prabhu. Prabhu means master. So, how the master should be disobeyed. Others, they are also pure devotees. All my disciples are pure devotees. Anyone sincerely serving the spiritual master is a pure devotee. He may be a Siddha Sarup, charismatic devotee, who brought Tush to Krishna, to Srila Prabhupada, and Krishna consciousness, or others as Siddha Sarup, a Siddha Sarup, not Siddha Sarup. They must be very clearly stated. This must be very clearly stated. It is not only that your Siddha Sarup is a pure devotee and not others. Do not try to make faction. Siddha Sarup is a good soul, but others should not be misled. Anyone who is surrendered to the spiritual master is a pure devotee. It doesn't matter if Siddha Sarup or not, non-Siddha Sarup. Among ourselves, one should respect others as Prabhu, master, and one another. As soon as we distinguish, here is pure devotee, here is non-pure devotee, that means I am a nonsense. Why you only want to be in the spiritual sky with Siddha Sarup? Why not all? If Siddha Sarup can go, why not everyone? Siddha Sarup, go. You will go. Shama Sundar will go, and others will go. We'll have another ISKCON there, of course. Mr. Naima's there. Despite the cancellation of the sales agreement, Srila Prabhupada remained steadfast in his faith that we would eventually get the land and build the temple. In the meantime, he urged us to do more preaching, which, in our focus on the land and construction, we had been neglecting. Quote, my idea was that we should use the land for preaching, he said. Even if we don't build the temple, you shouldn't think that without the temple you can't preach. He told us to go out more, meet more people, make more members, and preach. He had us organize a second Pandal program, another 10-day festival in downtown Cross Maidan. From Vrindavan, he had written me, you and Tamal Krishna arranged the Pandal program in Bombay to be a first-class presentation. We formed the Pandal committee, including Dr. Singhal, Mr. Pandya, and several others, with Dr. S.K. Podar as head. And Prabhupada wrote to some of his strongest preachers, encouraging them to come and support the program however they could. Whoever shall come must bring with them as many mridangas and kartals as possible, he instructed. At least 4 drums are required and 10 sets of kartals. My Guru Maharaj was also inclined towards his bolder preachers. He wrote to Yasodhananda and Guru Kripa in Coimbatore, South India. Therefore, I'm requesting that both of you, with your party, join me very soon at the Hare Krishna Festival in Bombay, Cross Maidan. This is our big opportunity to emphasize our preaching strength to the big men of India and population in general. There is arrangement of questions and answers tents for the general public just by the main street of the city. Wherever we shall conduct throughout the day and night, preaching is by my disciples by answering any and all questions put forward by the public. I think that you will enjoy preaching in that way, and I want to place my best preachers there for that purpose of defeating all challengers. I think last time you were one of the leaders of that first Hare Krishna festival, he wrote to Madhavisa, so you should know how much important occasion that will be. Already, there are many banners all over the city advertising this movement as the world's greatest spiritual cultural movement. There was a set of big Radha Krishna deities waiting to be sent to Chicago, where they were eventually installed. And because Radha Rasa Bihari were already in Juhu, Prabhupada said that the deities waiting to be sent should be used in the Pandal. So he brought them. Shri Shri Kishore Kishori. Yadavar and Vishaka were in charge of the publicity, and they tried to follow in the footsteps of Shamsundar, who had done such a brilliant job advertising the first Bombay Pandal program. Printed announcements covered downtown Bombay, many saying, Krishna consciousness is the world's greatest spiritual culture. Second annual International Hare Krishna Festival across Maidan, January 12 to 25. Sri Rajiv K. Ganatra was the mayor of Bombay, and even though he had never met us, we kept getting reports that he recognized the value of Krishna consciousness and was praising our society in his public lectures. In one talk, he had said, people say many bad things about the Hare Krishna people, but I don't believe them. At the function to honor donors to the new wing of the Nanavati Hospital in Villeparle, which had been built by our friend Mr. Ratilal Nanavati. Mayor Ganatra was the chief guest and mentioned ISKCON and the wonderful work we are doing. After his talk, I introduced myself to him, and he was very friendly, and he asked if I could visit him at his office, and he agreed. I went to see Mayor Ganatra the next day and invited him to be a chief guest at the Pandal program and inaugurate the festival on the first night. He accepted. And at the program, he spoke very nicely and presented Prabhupada with the key to the city as an offering of honor and respect. Prabhupada concluded his talk on the first night with a heartfelt appeal. This is a very scientific movement, authorized, practical. You chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and you will realize that gradually you are advancing to meet Krishna face to face. This is possible. Chant Hare Krishna. gives the mantra. People are feeling some difficulty or some deficiency in the whole structure, and that deficiency can be fulfilled, can be satisfied by making people Krishna conscious. That is the movement. We have got ample literature, not only Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, others. There are hundreds of literatures, and we should publish about 20 books like this. All the life members have got our books, and those who are not life members, I would request them to become our life members, and we will give you even more than your money's worth of books. We want that everyone, every scholar, every thoughtful man should read these books, Bhagavad Gita as it is. These books are very much welcome in the Western countries. I have got a report just now from Los Angeles that within 3 days of the Christmas holidays, we have sold 1 lakh worth of books within 3 days. So our books are being very much appreciated, very much welcomed in the Western countries, especially the Bhagavad Gita as it is. This movement is a very important movement. It is not fanaticism. It is based on science, philosophy, and authority, and Vedic principles. And all the students are following strictly the Vedic principles. They do not indulge in illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, giving up drinking coffee and tea, and smoking. They have given up. These are Vedic principles. And they do not take part in gambling. They regularly chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, 16 rounds. In this way, we are training. Not only we are training these young boys, we are training their sons, their children. We have got a very nice school in Dallas, Texas. From the very beginning, they are being taught about Krishna consciousness, how to rise early in the morning, how to take part in Mangal Arati, how to take prasadam. Then teaching, they are learning Sanskrit and English, especially little geography, mathematics. We have started a school. So do not take this movement very insignificantly. Try to understand this movement with all your intelligence. As Chaitanya Charitamrita's author says, Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar. Vichar. Just put your judgment. Try to understand with logic and philosophy, not as a fanatic. Vichar. Vichar karile chite prabhu chamatkar. And if you rightly judge this movement, you'll find it very sublime. We've got 4 branches now in India, out of 102 branches all over the world, but especially this movement is easier for the Indians because by birth they are imbibed with Krishna conscious ideas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bharata Bhumi Te Haila Manusha Janmachar Janma Satakari Kara Upakar. Indians are meant for the welfare activities of the whole world, and how they will do, not by begging, give me rice, give me milk powder, give me money, give me this. No. If you spread this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world, then you'll be respected. People will like it. They're very hungry for this Krishna consciousness. So I'm struggling alone. I require many Indians to join and spread this movement all over the world. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Every evening, distinguished guests came, gave introductory speeches, appreciating the work of Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON. Although overall the program was not quite as well attended as the first, some people, like Bogilal Patel, a pious Gujarati Vaishnava businessman, came to hear Prabhupada practically every night. And by the last night, the site was packed with over 20,000 people. More devotees arrived daily, and the crowd responded enthusiastically. The main stage area, which held the deity's altar and Prabhupada's Vyasasan, were rectangular, but the pandal tent itself, constructed by Mr. Bourter, was round, a novel concept conceived by Tamal Krishna. Unlike a circus tent, the pandal was constructed with a bamboo or wood poles and cloth. So building it round was more expensive and more difficult because the wood came in straight boards and the cloth came in straight sections. To make it round, we had to lose a bit of on the materials. and it cost more in terms of labor. The stage protruded a little into the audience, and on the side was a narrow extension where Guru Kripa Jasodananda and other devotees sat and performed kirtan. Prabhupada sat on his Vyasasan with his disciples gathered at his feet. Tamal Krishna had arranged through Srimati for copies of paintings from Prabhupada's books to be made by Indian artists. And 8 paintings depicting the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya adorned the site. The people in Bombay didn't know about Lord Chaitanya, so the images introduced to them what was for them a new feature of Krishna consciousness. The question and answer area, which had been introduced at the Delhi Pandal, was a great attraction. We had a large, high platform erected outside the main Pandal with an ornate throne-like seat that Indian decorators supplied for weddings and other functions, upholstered in red velvet with its back legs and other carved wood painted gold. Over the course of the festival, the main preachers would take turns challenging the audience that our Bhagavad Gita philosophy was perfect and complete and could defeat any other, and inviting onlookers to come up to the platform with their questions and statements. Sometimes 2 of us would be there at once, which Prabhupada liked. If one was tired, he said the other could speak. And because we were sitting on the big throne and the platform was so high, the booth attracted everyone's attention. People looked up at us, sitting above everybody else, and thought, "You think you're better than us?" We invited people to present their philosophy based on any spiritual or material ideology and offered that if they could show that theirs was better than ours, we would surrender right there and become their disciples. But if they found that our philosophy was superior and had defeated theirs, they should surrender to Prabhupada. No one could actually defeat us, but big crowds would gather and many people ask questions and put forth challenges. Achyutananda, Tamal Krishna, and I were the main devotees for giving answers. Generally, Tamal Krishna would answer questions for an hour or 2, and then I would answer for an hour or 2, and then Achyutananda would do the late shift. Achyutananda also added his own challenge, that he would stay up all night answering questions that people would stay and ask them, and he would usually carry on until 11 or 11:30, sometimes midnight. The audience was always astonished and impressed by our answers, and when it was time for Prabhupada to speak at the Pandal, we would close the booth and go listen to his discourse. Another feature of the Pandal was the dramatic performances directed by Achyutananda, which were enhanced by rented costumes and masks. In our production, Krishna Has a Headache, Krishna declared that he could be cured only by the dust for the feet of his devotee. Krishna's messenger approached many different types of people to ask for dust at their feet. One of the persons was a karmi, depicted as a Gujarati businessman, played by Manasvi, who actually had been one. Another was a yogi, and another a gyani, played by me. All the people the messenger approached refused to give the dust of their feet, saying, "Oh, if the dust from my feet touches the head of Krishna, it'll be a great offense. I could go to hell." When the messenger went to Vrindavan, however, he was immediately surrounded by all the gopis. "Oh, you've come for Krishna," they said. "He is our Lord. Please tell us, how is he doing? The Lord has a headache." The messenger replied, "Oh, no." The gopis exclaimed, "How can we help? What can we do? The only thing that will cure him is the dust from his devotees' feet." The messenger said. They replied without hesitation, "Oh, yes, take it all. Take as much as you want. Take everything." "Don't you know that you could go to hell for this?" the messenger asked. "We don't care if we go to hell," they said, "as long as Krishna has a headache, as long as Krishna's headache is cured." Prabhupada wanted to see the play. So, for the final performance, we brought his Vyasa-san down from the stage to the front of the audience. When I saw him sitting there, smiling broadly as he watched. I was struck by his expression, sweet and pure, with childlike innocence. He was completely absorbed in the drama, seeing Krishna's pastimes being enacted, and at the same time appreciating the efforts of his loving disciples. Uh-oh. Narnarayan, who was sitting right beside Prabhupada, also noticed Prabhupada's absorption. He looked so involved. He was watching each part as though he'd never heard the story. When the people said, "No, I will not give the dust," he would wince. And then when the gopis said, "Yes, they would give dust of their feet to Krishna," you could see Prabhupada's shoulders jump as he leaned forward and tears started rolling down his cheeks. When the messenger brought the dust of their feet to Krishna and he accepted it, Prabhupada stood up, his mouth agape and his eyes wide open. It was as he was actually seeing Lord Krishna and his associates. Unquote. Later that evening, it was Sunday, the last day of the festival, and the crowd was enormous. Prabhupada gave his daily lecture from the Vyasasan. When he finished, he nodded and said, "All right, have kirtan." Achyutananda, playing mridanga, began to lead the chanting. The kirtan was especially enthusiastic, Vishaka later recounted, and Prabhupada started to circumambulate the deities with a very light step. He went around once, then he went around a second time, then a third time. And when he came before the deities, very gracefully, he put his arms in the air and began to dance. It was almost as if he was weightless. He danced so effortlessly, and everyone was electrified. Everyone in the audience was riveted on Srila Prabhupada dancing before the deities. I was in the midst of the crowd photographing, and it felt as if all the sinful reactions of all those people suddenly lifted. It felt as if it was an extraordinary feeling. There was such a lightness. It's stated in the Nectar Devotion that if you clap your hands in kirtan, the sinful reactions leave you just like birds leaving a tree when there's a sudden noise and they all fly off together. And that's what it felt like. There was this burden of karma lifting all at one time. All the devotees and practically everyone in the audience also began dancing. Prabhupada was leading us dancing around the deities, Harikesh recalled. He was holding his hands up, having a huge kirtan, and the whole place went mad, completely mad. It was amazing how Srila Prabhupada controlled us by the movements of his arms. Shruta Kirti said, when he raised them into the air, he picked up everyone with them and deposited us in the spiritual world with dozens of devotees dancing ecstatically in a circle around the deities. The stage began to shake so hard, the two of us had to hold them down, the deities. Prabhupada was dancing with great jubilation, and the audience was amazed and overcome with ecstasy as they watched and danced and clapped. I wanted to run out onto the street and call anyone and everyone to come in and see this wonderful sight. When the kirtan was over, Prabhupada left for his accommodations with Mr. Mahadevia's flat. So the Pando was very nice. He asked, smiling broadly. It was really wonderful, Shruta Kirti replied. When you dance, everyone immediately goes into ecstasy. Yes, Prabhupada said. Actually, I could have kept on dancing, but I saw that the deities were endangered, so I stopped. Otherwise, I would have kept on dancing. Prabhupada was happy with the results of the festival. Quote, in Bombay, we have just celebrated our second Hare Krishna festival, and it has come out very successfully, he wrote Kurandar. A special feature was the question and answer booth, where our sannyasis answered all philosophical questions, so the people were impressed that we are not seemingly sentimentalists, but have substantial philosophical footing. As Mrs. Singhal later remembered, the public saw the Western devotees and their sincere bhakti, and many misunderstandings were removed from their minds. Within days after, the Pandal mayor, Ganatra, came to meet Prabhupada at Mr. Mahadevia's residence, and Prabhupada gave him the most gracious treatment I have ever seen, beaming and smiling affectionately as he told the mayor about our different activities. A Trey Rishi was there also, and Prabhupada asked that his wife be called in to meet the mayor. He was proud that even an intelligent young Muslim man like a Trey Rishi had become his disciple. A Trey Rishi's wife, Vidhi Bhakti Dasi, was an attractive American girl with blonde hair and blue eyes and wore a sari and tilak, which even further impressed Mayor Ganatra, who was enchanted, captivated by Prabhupada's charm. And from that day forward, he was a close friend and strong supporter of our movement. Back to Nair. Near the end of January, Prabhupada again met with Mr. Nair. I was noticing he wasn't saying Mr. Nair, he was always Nair. Now it's Mr. Nair again. At Mr. Mahadevia's flat, tried to settle things out of court. Nair's leg was swollen. He had difficulty walking, and it was hard for him to sit on the floor, so Prabhupada had someone bring him a chair. All along, Prabhupada had been gracious with Nair, and Nair had responded politely. But this time, there was a marked change. Prabhupada was courageous, but I could tell that he had had enough. And it was clear that Nair, though showing a veneer of civility, was seething inside. Swamiji hypnotized me when I went to Hyderabad, he accused. He made me sign. Prabhupada understood the situation and indicated that the devotees should leave him alone with Nair and Amratal Pandya, who had tried to reason with Nair and had brought him to see Prabhupada. We went next door to Shrutakirti's room, from where we could hear Prabhupada and Nair yelling at each other. Simply take the money and give us the land, Prabhupada told Nair. Or if you want us to vacate, then prepare the check. Bring out your check, and we will vacate tomorrow morning. No, we will vacate tonight. Either take your check and give me my money, but we must finalize it. You are a trespasser, Nair accused. Get off my property. You people are calling yourselves the owners of the land, but you are just a big disturbance to the whole area. It is not your property or mine, Prabhupada countered. It is Krishna's. He was red hot. Mr. Pandya described. He was red hot, Mr. Pandya described, glaring, furious. You can't make us move. Krishna's there. I will break your Krishna, Nair threatened, and then he walked out. Soon thereafter, Prabhupada left for Calcutta, Melbourne, Sydney, Auckland, and Jakarta, and then Calcutta and Mayapur. On Sunday, as I was walking through the streets of Dobhi Talau, South Bombay, briefcase in hand, on my way to meet someone, I happened to stop for a moment by the Metro Cinema to look at the periodicals on the sale along the sidewalk, something I generally never did. Standing on the busy corner with traffic rushing in all directions, I glanced at the newspaper headline. Big, black, bold letters jumped out from one front page. A.B. Nair dead. And directly under the headline was a photo of Mr. Nair. I couldn't believe it. A.B. Nair dead. How could it be? The paper was the Bharat Jyoti, the Sunday edition, the Free Press Journal, where Nair had been editor. I was jubilant. I felt like dancing in ecstasy, but then I wondered if there was a proper way for a Vaishnava to respond. I'm supposed to be developing saintly qualities, I reflected. Maybe I should be feeling sorry. Still, I could not contain my exultation, and I rushed back to our flat in Colombo to share the news. Bali Mardan, the most senior devotee there, suggested that we call Srila Prabhupada and went out to look for a phone. I decided I should go to Juhu. The devotees there had already heard the news and had been rejoicing and celebrating, chanting and distributing sweets. But I was still uncertain Was this the proper way for Vaishnavas to behave? When Balimardan phoned Auckland to inform Prabhupada of Nair's death, the phone call came during Prabhupada's morning massage, just before lunchtime. Shrutakirti was sitting on the floor behind him, massaging his back, and Tushta Krishna and Siddhasarup, really, nearby. Tushta Krishna took the call, and then Shrutakirti came to the phone. After just a few minutes, Shrutakirti ran back into the room. Srila Prabhupada, he said, that was Bali Mardan on the phone. He wanted to tell you that Mr. Nair is dead. Srila Prabhupada joined his hands together above his head, as if in prayer. Oh, thank you, Krishna. I prayed that Krishna would kill him. He caused us so much difficulty. He gave so much trouble to the devotees. I was praying that Krishna would do something to this demon. And he quoted a verse from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam 7:9-14. Yat tan yatcha manyum asarascha hatas tavalyad tava yadya. Prahlad Maharaj said, everyone is a saintly, everyone, even a saintly person, becomes pleased when a snake or a scorpion is killed. Nair was a big snake, so it is very good. Since Krishna killed him, is he not liberated? Shrutakirti asked. No. Replied Prabhupada, he was not such a great demon. Krishna didn't come personally to kill him. As Shrutakirti continued his massage, Prabhupada recounted some of the struggle and revealed more of his inner mood. The deities were installed properly, he said. Mr. Nair had insulted Krishna by trying to remove him, and that I could not tolerate. Some of my disciples didn't understand. They wondered why their spiritual master was so attached to that piece of property. In truth, we had money. We could have bought property anywhere. We didn't need that piece of property, but Krishna was standing there at Juhu, and therefore I was determined to have it. Even some of my disciples were ready to leave the property, but I promised the deities that I will build them a beautiful temple there. When Nair came to visit me last time in Bombay, I noticed he was limping. Generally, he was very strong and robust. He raised his arms like a muscle man, flexing his biceps. He was not at all ill, but he was limping. I thought to myself, Krishna is going to kill him. He is going to die. And now Krishna has killed him. Nair's downfall resembled Ramchandra Khan's, as described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Both had allowed the seed of offense to germinate. This seed later became a tree, and when it fructified, Ramchandra Khan ate its fruits. Ramchandra Khan was naturally a non-devotee. Now, having offended the dust of the feet of Haridas Thakur, he became just like a demoniac atheist. Because of blaspheming the cult of Vaishnavas and insulting the devotees for a long time, he now received the results of his offensive activities. Later that day, Prabhupada wrote us in Bombay. This morning, Shrutakirti received telephonic message from Bali Mardan. It is understood that Mr. Nair is dead, so it is good news that Nrsingadev has killed the demon like him. It is a matter of great pleasure for all devotees. Srila Prabhupada celebrated Gaur Purnima in Calcutta. We held a festival on our land, which was attended by Mayor Ganatra. Featured a drama of Chaitanya Leela and included Maha Sankirtan along Juhu Beach and through the main streets in the area. A week later, Prabhupada returned to Bombay, where he stayed at Kartikeya Mahadevi's flat through the end of the month. I had been tracking down a wealthy industrialist named S.K. Tirani, who was the managing director of Coors India Limited, the leading manufacturer of office supplies and equipment in India, and was married to Ashok Bila's sister. Mr. Tirani's house happened to be just up the street on Warden Road, near Mahadevi's flat. On the following Sunday afternoon, I had a little free time, so I thought, why not take a chance and go? When I arrived, Mr. Tirani was sitting out on his front lawn, chatting with his wife and some friends. There was no way he could avoid me. I just walked up and introduced myself and started telling him about the Juhu land, not mentioning the difficulties and complications, and that we wanted to build a temple there. Mr. Tirani replied that actually he had been thinking of building a temple, but that he didn't know where to build it. Well, I replied, we can provide the land, and you can provide the temple. Yes, this is very good, he said. I will give 5 to 7 lakhs of my own, plus I will help you raise another 5 lakhs from my friends. This is wonderful, I thought. We never had anything like this happen. Then I told him that our Guru Maharaj was staying just down the street, and I suggested we go over and see him. Yes, let us go immediately, Mr. Tirani replied. And so we got in his car, drove to see Face Park, and went up to see Prabhupada. When we arrived, Prabhupada was in his room with Manmohan Das, Mr. Kerijwal, and other middle-class friends from Juhu. I introduced Mr. Tirani to Prabhupada and told him of Mr. Tirani's desire to build a temple for us. Prabhupada was very pleased and started to preach to him. Mr. Tirani was a rather materialistic man, not very bright-faced or joyful. He hardly ever smiled, but Prabhupada put himself into the meeting completely and focused on trying to bring him to Krishna consciousness. And because Mr. Tirani was somewhat mundane, Prabhupada had to tell him some rather mundane stories with mundane examples to attract his interest. He described the movement of a car and imitated the sound of the vehicle. He was doing everything he could. Actually, Tirani started to come to life, to smile and laugh. It was amazing to see the transformation. Then Prabhupada mentioned that he had to leave for Zurich early the next morning, and Mr. Tirani said, really? I'm also going to Zurich tomorrow morning. What flight are you taking? Prabhupada told him the flight number, and Mr. Tirani said, well, that's the same flight I am taking, so I will see you tomorrow morning. All the devotees were enlivened by hearing this. We thought it must have been by Krishna's arrangement that I had met Mr. Tirani and that he wanted to build a temple and had come and met Prabhupada and they would be flying together to Zurich. 2 days later, Prabhupada wrote me from Zurich. The gentleman, Mr. Tirani, was met 2 or 3 times on planes or in airports and is eager to construct a temple for us immediately. So this is an opportunity given by Krishna. Whereas my attention during Prabhupada's initial meeting with Mr. Tirani had been drawn to how Prabhupada had gone all out to engage him, Manmohan had been impressed with Prabhupada's quality of being equal to all types of people. Later, speaking with someone about him, he described how Prabhupada hadn't regarded Tirani any differently than he would have regarded any ordinary person who had come off the street. Prabhupada, Manmohan was saying, was completely detached from any glitter or glamour of the material world or a materialistic person. On another occasion, Prabhupada had spoken strongly to a very rich man, and then, after the man left the room, Prabhupada's friend Indira Shingi had commented, you spoke very heavily to this man. Why not? Prabhupada had retorted. Why should I compromise with these people? Krishna's there. He's taking care of us. We don't need these men. Still, a humble servant of Krishna, he would try to engage everyone in Krishna's service and Krishna's mission. On March 30, Mayor Ganatra sent a wonderful appreciation of Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON addressed to Prabhupada at Hare Krishna land, respected Swamiji Prabhupada ji. Please accept my respects. My wife and I were so pleased to meet your divine grace here in Bombay. Certainly you must be the representative of Lord Krishna because you're fulfilling his prediction as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that in every village and town in every country of the world his name will be sung. You only went to the Western world a few years ago, and already you have established over 102 Sri Sri Radhakrishna temples all over the globe. You must know that I personally have met your devotees in Los Angeles, New York, Washington, D.C., Buffalo, New York, and Paris, France. The deity worship at Radhakrishna in Los Angeles is gorgeous, clean, and punctual. And your printing press in New York, which I also saw, is doing a beautiful job of printing your books in English editions with Sanskrit and original color paintings by your disciples. You are working very hard to spread our Shastras in English, to spread our original Indian culture for the benefit of the suffering world, and you therefore claim the title as India's greatest spiritual ambassador to the world. Paragraph. Here in Bombay, I had the privilege of being chief guest at one of the big festivals of your Sri Sri Radhakrishna temple in Juhu. There too, the activities are progressing very nicely, and the local people are participating. Under leadership of Sri Giriraj Ji, your disciples are working very sincerely and enthusiastically. I want your movement to expand more and more in India because your society alone is counteracting the degradation of our modern youth who are falling prey to permissive life. You have already surpassed the greatest of saints in propagating Krishna consciousness all around the world. And now, with your foreign disciples, you are helping Indians themselves remember their own great heritage. And so you have practically become a national hero. You have been kind enough to invite me to stay at your centers all around the world. Although I'll not be able to take advantage of your kind offer at this time, I hope that next year I will be your guest and have another opportunity to enjoy the pure spiritual life promoted by your ISKCON institution. Mayor Bombay. Tamal Krishna and I considered that we needed a proper place to stay, work, and store things, and we proposed to purchase a small flat on the ground floor of the nearby Chand Cooperative Housing Society. Prabhupada approved that on May 8th we made payment and we took possession. We got a phone installed, and I would make calls to set up appointments for Tamal Krishna and me to go collect funds for Vrindavan. The work at Juhu was delayed due to the legal complications, to say the least. Tamal Krishna was insistent that I make a lot of calls. The best time to phone was early in the morning before people went to the office, but sometimes I want to chant more rounds at first and would go to phone later. And Tamal Krishna would always ask how many phone calls and appointments I have made. One day, I'd hardly made any calls, and when he asked me what had happened, I was afraid to tell him the truth. So I told a few little lies that I had tried to reach some people but couldn't get through, and I mentioned some names. Somehow, by Krishna's arrangement, or my good luck or bad luck, Tamal Krishna spoke to one of the gentlemen I had falsely said I had tried to reach, and concluded rightly that I'd lied to him. He became very angry, transcendentally angry, and said, "You pretend to be very pure and innocent, but you are not innocent at all." He exposed the truth, that I was a liar, and I felt purified by the experience, though it took me a few days to fully appreciate the value of what he had said, but eventually I did, and it helped me in my service. That's 20 pages. And the next headline is Mrs. Nair, she's the owner of the land, and her husband's dead. The plot thickens.